tonight, more homes destroyed as blazes rage out of control south of Sydney. Plucked to safety, helicopters used to evacuate residents. And permanent air cranes for Australia after a dramatic performance in this crisis.
With Natalie Barr, this is 7 News.
Good evening. There are new emergencies across New South Wales tonight as the bushfire crisis continues. 1,000 kilometres of fire now rages across the state. At least 12 homes have been destroyed as an inferno sweeps through Sussex Inlet on the New South Wales south coast. There are new threats to property in the Hawkesbury region with mass evacuations tonight. And there were flare-ups around Sydney's northwestern suburbs threatening houses for a second day. At least 40 blazes, the work of arsonists. The south coast community of Sussex Inlet is in danger of being wiped out by a swiftly moving fire front. The area's entire population has been evacuated and homes have been destroyed. Joining me on the phone from Shoalhaven Fire Headquarters is Police Inspector Bill Carter. Inspector, how many people have been evacuated?
We're looking at this stage at some 4,000 to 5,000 people have been evacuated from their homes. They've been taken to the evacuation centres. We had 2 established in the Sussex Inlet area.
Now, I believe some people were being evacuated by boat as well.
We took one lady out who was very advanced pregnant-wise. We took her out by boat and moved her from the scene.
So how are your crews getting into the area to fight the blaze?
We've managed to get limited access for emergency service vehicles into the area. We've got additional firefighting resources, additional police and medical support teams in the area to deal with evacuees and keep a tab on the actual fire front. And
how is that fire front going tonight?
It's still a large number of spot fires going through the town of Sussex Inlet. They're being dealt with as we speak. The areas of Cudmera and Barr are still concerned. There's still a fairly slow-moving fire heading towards those areas now.
Now, how many homes have been destroyed late this afternoon?
We've got unconfirmed reports at this stage that we've lost about a dozen houses, plus probably a couple of industrial type premises.
So how are the people coping? It must be pretty tough for them. That's a lot of people to be evacuated.
It is. They're fairly calm at this stage. We're trying to keep them informed as to what's going on. As I said, we've got medical teams there dealing with any issues that may arise. We're looking at getting anyone of special needs, getting them out of the area and removing them to alternative accommodation. OK, well, we wish you luck. Thanks very much for joining me, Inspector Bill Carter. Thanks, Natalie. One of the big concerns remains the Blue Mountains and Hawkesbury regions. Hot, dry conditions have helped fuel the flames, forcing locals to flee their homes. 7's Rani Sadler is in Springwood in the Blue Mountains. Rani, a tough night for residents.
Yes, Natalie, the evacuation stretched from Bowen Mountain near Kurrajong to Colo Heights. The most dramatic came when a school had to be evacuated by helicopter. Surrounded by flames, an airlift was the only way out. 25 terrified residents, including 10 children, rescued from a primary school in Colo Heights. Hundreds more were evacuated across the mountains as the feared southerly winds finally hit late in the afternoon. 70 km/h winds driving the fire fronts towards homes.
I mean, the noise coming from it's amazing, like it sounded like firecrackers going off.
Yeah, copied, mate.
A wall of flames swept through the Blue Mountains National Park, Springwood in its path. In some areas, it was simply too dangerous for emergency teams to continue.
All the crews have pulled out. We had a spot fire jump across the trail behind us.
Neighbours banded together to save this house in Bee Farm Road, using whatever they could lay their hands on.
It's just spark after, ember after ember. It's still going down there, look. Yeah, I know. I tried getting down there, but I nearly died in the snow.
A 60-kilometre fire front now extends from the Blue Mountains to the Southern Highlands. Despite the onslaught, no homes have been lost in the mountains in 4 days. But the officers say the situation is tenuous.
There is a massive fire moving towards them. Backburning has now been completed to almost Wentworth Falls, which alone is a Herculean achievement.
All day they'd been clearing fire breaks. Hundreds of people spent another day anxiously waiting. Long-term residents say this is the worst fire they've seen in more than 20 years.
We're ready to go if we should have to go and make a move. We don't really want to. We want to save our home. This is all we've got.
Tomorrow, milder temperatures are forecast, which should bring some relief, but there'll still be dry conditions and strong winds. So firefighters say we're not out of the woods yet. Natalie?
OK, thanks very much for that, Rani Sadler. There's been a reprieve in the fires that have ravaged Sydney's North Shore, but that's only thanks to the combined efforts of firefighters and residents. Those fires have finally been contained after a 2-day battle which saw flames come within metres of homes.
They did their best to prepare for this day. 300 firefighters had worked through the night, backburning in the face of the fire's menacing approach. Their operations watched anxiously by local residents of all types.
Just up here, look.
At times, the backburn seemed like the real thing to some residents.
There's all this backburning going on and we freaked out. So it's quite scary.
By mid-morning, the predicted strong winds arrived, flames surging back into life and racing out of the gullies.
Getting closer. As close as it was in '94.
The smoke and the heat intensifying.
Actually, I'm worried. I'm panic-stricken.
Some decided it was time to leave, unsure if they'd be able to save their home. Water bombers buzzing overhead. Householders shoulder to shoulder with firefighters. Even overseas visitors roped in to help.
Hard work? Well, let's put it this way. It wasn't what I expected on holiday from England. So the temperature is -6 and it's snowing.
The fight was taken right to the edge of properties. The determined firefighters prevailed. Firefighter numbers boosted to more than 500. Time and again, flames licked at back fences. Time and again, they were repulsed.
The fact that in the Lane Cove National Park, Pennant Hills Park complex of fires, we have lost no property is astounding.
Earlier, the Premier toured fire-scarred Marsfield with the local federal MP, who just happens to be Prime Minister John Howard.
Now Andrew's in charge.
Yes.
His electorate can show us
and
around.
mine.
Yeah, yours and yours.
320 hectares of bush destroyed. The politicians happy to be talking to locals about how close it came, rather than consoling them over lost homes. Mark Simmons, 7 News.
And fire crews had a win near the Central Coast town of Gosford. They battled a blaze threatening homes on the town's outskirts for almost 7 hours today. By early this evening, they'd managed to get on top of the fire, pulling it up just short of the houses. Water bombing finished off what had been a long and hot day's work for fire, police and SES volunteers. For more on the bushfire crisis, we go live to Rural Fire Headquarters and Mark Sullivan. Mark, homes destroyed at Sussex Inlet on the New South Wales south coast. Can you tell us what's the latest there?
The latest news, Natalie, is that homes have been destroyed. The information coming back from the fire ground is sketchy at the moment as to the numbers. I also understand the evacuations, certainly from your earlier report, have taken place. About 5,000 people, as we understand, have been moved out for their own safety.
And how difficult is firefighting conditions down there tonight? Can you tell us what it's like down there?
Sure, very, very difficult conditions for firefighters. A request for reinforcements has been put in by them. We have a contingent of our Queensland counterparts there. Apart from our Rural Fire Service people, we also have some Tasmanian incident management experts on scene there as well. It's a very big operation, a very aggressive fire in that area, very close watch, and the crews will be on alert.
OK, now more evacuations were needed in the Hawkesbury region today?
Correct. Yes, that's right. Approximately 500 people from the Bowen Mountain area, which is north of Richmond. That evacuation for precautionary reasons. The properties are unfortunately in the line of fire as such. And again, crews overnight will be working on containment and backburning where possible.
OK, what are we looking at tomorrow as far as the weather is looking?
Well, our reports are approximately 27 degrees and about 17% relative humidity and about a 35 sou'wester breeze. That breeze could create some problems for us. Look, better than today, but certainly I think in any other conditions, any other time of year, we would say those conditions wouldn't be favourable for firefighting.
OK, a long way to go. Mark Sullivan,
Yes, right.
Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thanks, Natalie. Ta.
Authorities have confirmed at least 40 of the fires have been deliberately lit. 21 people have now been arrested, most of them teenagers, and the New South Wales Premier has promised tough action.
Everyone wants tough action. Former policeman turned politician Richard Face captured a suspected arsonist yesterday, only to later find police planning to caution the teenager.
A conference, in my view, is for something of a minor nature, a misdemeanor as I'd call it, but these are serious matters.
Laws in New South Wales allow up to 14 years jail for adult arsonists. The Premier has his own thoughts about teenagers.
I think sending them to a juvenile prison is in some respects too good for them. What is better is to rub their noses in the ashes they've caused.
He wants juvenile arsonists to be made to visit burns units and meet fire victims, to be confronted by families who've lost homes, to help in the clean-up of burned bushland and to pay compensation. 14 juveniles and 6 adults have been arrested so far, including this Canberra man. Most were caught setting small grass fires. Police won't say how many have actually been charged. 2 teenagers from Sydney South among those let off with counselling and a warning. But they confirmed 2 fire starting devices have been found in recent days, one in Galston, the other in West Pennant Hills yesterday, the source of the blaze that's come so close to destroying properties around Turramurra and West Pymble.
We think in some areas we know who the arsonists are. It's a matter of getting the evidence and making it stick.
Of even greater concern, reports that a man using a trail bike has been lighting fires in the Blue Mountains. 25 in the past 3 months are under investigation. Morgan Ogg, 7 News.
A flying machine nicknamed Elvis may have changed firefighting forever in Australia. The federal and state governments have been so impressed by the air crane, they're looking at buying 3 of the water bombers.
You feel safer somehow knowing it's in the air. This giant machine that makes rain. A helicopter called Elvis. Who knows what might have happened yesterday without it?
Got one little spot there.
It saved all this area here. One hit. It was beautiful.
The pilot is an American, Kenny Chapman. He's not sure about all this fame.
It's a little embarrassing because this is just our job.
Elvis is an $18 million American sky crane on charter to Victoria. The name comes from its time in Memphis. It flies with 2 pilots and a crew chief.
So go grab another one, come on back.
Kenny Chapman's been fighting fires from the air for 30 years, but that one around Epping and Turramurra was bad.
This was, as far as fire intensity, probably one of the worst I've ever seen.
The chopper can carry 9,000 litres of water. They dropped 600,000 litres on that fire.
This is the drop button. You just depress this and hold it until the drop is completed.
It's computer controlled and they can fill the tank from 2 snorkels, one for dams and one for the sea.
This one will fill it in about 22 seconds. This one fills it in about 40 to 45.
The Prime Minister's an Elvis fan.
That is amazing.
I know.
Elvis.
It's a miracle that it can fly with that water in its belly.
Mr. Howard says the government will look at getting them for Sydney, Melbourne and Perth. We love you, Elvis. Feel my temperature rising. Paul Marshall, 7 News.
And if you need more information on the fire situation, you can call the following hotlines. The natural disaster number for those worried about family and friends is 1800 227 228. For road closures, the numbers are 132 701 and 1800 679 782. And the state disaster recovery number is Sydney 9683 2388. Time for a short break. Still ahead, the smoke that chokes Sydney stretches across the Tasman. And the world's new currency ready for its toughest test. The effect of the New South Wales bushfire crisis is being felt as far away as New Zealand. Winds have carried smoke more than 2,000 kilometres across the Tasman, making the land of the long white cloud a little hazy. On the North Island, visibility has been cut in Auckland.
The air, which is over Auckland now, originated in the southern New South Wales area about 2.5–3 days ago.
On the upside, residents are enjoying spectacular sunsets. To business news, and shares in Australia's second largest brewer have surged after winding up a takeover bid for Banksia Wines. But as Kylie Merritt reports, Lion Nathan has failed to win complete control of the company.
After 3 months and $70 million, Lion Nathan now owns just under 85% of Banksia. However, the remaining 15% remains in the hands of bitter UK rival Allied Domecq, which refused to give up its share. Lion Nathan closed 11 cents higher at $4.72. QBE Insurance shares have risen to their highest level since hitting a 6-year low in the wake of the US terrorist attacks. When QBE admitted its exposure to the World Trade Center collapse would be $250 million, the stock tumbled to $3.28. But after reassuring investors it's prepared for a bill that size and the completion of a $660 million capital raising, the company is gaining favour. QBE shares ended the day up 18 cents at $7.86. Briefly, Ansett has named James Hogan as the airline's new chief executive. He began with the airline 27 years ago and most recently headed up British Midland Airways. Ansett's new chief financial officer will be Adam Moroney, who's worked for both Air New Zealand and Qantas. And Brambles has sold its US equipment rental business for $240 million as part of a move to focus more on selling cargo pallets. Well, the Australian share market has begun the year on a high. The All Ordinaries Index climbed 24 points. The ASX 200 gained 21. AMP surged 44 cents. BHP Billiton added 22 and the Commonwealth Bank put on 15. Our dollar buys 51.1 US cents, 67 Japanese yen and 35 pence. Gold is worth $278 US an ounce. Oil costs $19.84 US a barrel. And for all the overseas market details, you can log on to i7news.com.au. And that's it from the Finance Centre. Have a great night.
The world's newest currency, the euro, faces its first real test tomorrow when shops across Europe open for business. So far, the transition has been mostly smooth for the new money, which has changed centuries of tradition.
Not even the Irish winter stopped crowds freezing outside their banks.
Would you have a hot whiskey?
All keen to get their hands on the new notes and coins. In Brussels, tourists put the euro to work.
Tomorrow in Holland we're going to use money we picked up in Belgium today, and then we'll be in France again the day after, and again it'll be the same money. It's magic. I mean, it's just got to be the way to go.
It all seems to have run smoothly on day one as the euro becomes part of everyday life for 300 million people. From horse-drawn carriages in Vienna to the snowy slopes of Kosovo and the streets of Germany.
Feels like money you play with, you know.
Toy money.
Monopoly money.
The Italians celebrated with a giant euro cake. But the euro had teething problems in Paris. Tourists were told they could only visit the Eiffel Tower with euros, despite a 2-month dual currency phase-in period. And a reminder for Australian travellers changing currencies for European vacations. Britain, Sweden and Denmark aren't part of Euroland. They want more guarantees it'll work for them. But the real test is yet to come, tomorrow, when all of Europe's banks and shops reopen for euro business. In the European Bureau, Amanda Palmer, 7 News.
Stay with us. Sport is next, including Australia's double century at the start of the third test. And a Hopman Cup tie win for Australia. To sport, and a solid start for Australia in the third test against South Africa in Sydney. Justin Langer and Matthew Hayden each made a century before a South African comeback. At stumps, Australia 5 for 308.
Reunited in the 11, Australia's spin twins Stuart McGill and Shane Warne had to wait after Steve Waugh won his third toss and decided to bat on a Sydney scorcher.
Oh, and good carry.
Langer struggled early, but Hayden was quick to fire up.
What a good shot that was.
Eventually the runs caught on. Langer a little lucky at times. That may have bugged Alan Donald, but there were no flies on Matthew Hayden.
That will be 4 more.
Spinner Claude Henderson came and went too in a record first wicket partnership against South Africa at the SCG. Langer's 50 up the first ball he faced after lunch.
I think he's had his porridge at lunchtime.
South Africa hurting as Hayden hammered them all round the ground in a post-Christmas celebration of power. The only chance he gave went to ground.
You cannot afford to drop Matthew Hayden.
As Dippenaar failed at square leg, Langer first in the race to get the ton.
12 test hundreds for Justin Langer.
And Hayden wasn't far behind.
Oh, Matthew Hayden has done it again.
This his third 100 in as many tests, but the party couldn't last forever.
Oh, he's gone.
Hayden out for 105. Justin Ontong put paid to Ricky Ponting before late replacement Nicky Boyer snared Langer.
Surely that's out, he walks.
Neat work from Neil McKenzie bringing Langer's knock to an end on 122. The War twins left to guide Australia past 300 before Steve went skipper to skipper.
That's the wicket they needed.
In the last over, Alan Donald had Mark Waugh caught for 19 as South Africa fought back to take 5 wickets in the final session. Patrick Mollahan, 7 News.
To tennis, and Australia has won its Hopman Cup tie against Argentina 2-1 in Perth. The deciding mixed doubles match went to a tiebreaker, with Australia winning it 10-7. In the singles, world number 1 Leighton Hewitt downed Mariano Zabaleta, but Alicia Molik was beaten in 3 sets.
The tightest match of the tournament, Molik lost the first in a tiebreak, then levelled on the back of her powerful serve. But an early break in the third was all Suarez needed to give Argentina a 1-0 lead. The onus on Hewitt to keep the tie alive. He trailed Zabaleta 3-1, but won the next 5 games to take the set. And there was no looking back. The world number 1 with too much firepower for his Argentinian opponent, leaving plenty in the tank for the deciding mixed doubles. In Adelaide, an overnight rain delay didn't halt Mark Philippoussis' charge. A set-up against France's Julien Botter when play resumed. The Scud quickly wrapped up the second 6-4. The biggest upset, second seed Pete Sampras' Australian Open build-up disrupted. He fell in 3 sets to compatriot Todd Martin. Stifling conditions at the Australian women's hard court on the Gold Coast forced officials to allow 10-minute heat breaks. It didn't help Aussie Nicole Pratt, ousted by German qualifier Anke Barner. World number 3 Venus Williams stepped out in emphatic fashion, trouncing former champ Patty Schneider 6-love, 6-4 to move into the quarters. Former world number 1 Martina Hingis is in Sydney to defend her Adidas international title. Despite a 3-month layoff after ankle surgery, the Swiss Miss is confident she'll be competitive.
Everybody's a lot better physically, and also now the youngsters. But it's nice to be in the hunter's position again instead of being the hunted.
Across the Tasman, Hingis' doubles partner is into the second round of the Auckland Classic. Anna Kournikova got a taste of the locals' favourite pastime, coming face-to-face with All Black superstar Jonah Lomu. Victoria Carthew, 7 News.
And now a check of the national weather. Storm clouds continue to build over northern Queensland and the southwest of the country. Some rain clouds too over Victoria and southern New South Wales. The deep low near Tasmania is expected to drift east, allowing for easing winds in New South Wales. Around the country, fine in Brisbane, another dry one for Sydney, 27, fine in Canberra, rain persisting though in Melbourne and Hobart, sunny in Adelaide, 22, and a hot 34 for Perth. A final recap now of the New South Wales bushfire crisis. The entire town of Sussex Inlet on the state's south coast has been evacuated, 5,000 residents forced to the local bowling club and beach. The fire front has already destroyed at least a dozen homes. In the Hawkesbury region, 25 people trapped by fire were airlifted to safety after residents of nearby Bowen Mountain were also forced to flee. But there's good news tonight on Sydney's North Shore. The fires there have finally been contained. And that's the news up to the minute. More coverage on the New South Wales bushfire crisis from 6 a.m. in Sunrise. I'm Natalie Barr from the Late News team. Good night.